live here.
All right. But you join me. So we're live on Instagram. So you join me on Instagram. Good evening, everyone. And Elias, always the first to join. Good to have you, Elias. And tonight we will be having a great time as usual. This is CKA live series, and we are streaming on Instagram and YouTube, and we'll be having a great time together. One of the things that we've also noticed while having to host this session is we always have diverse set of people who have the opportunity to join in from across the globe. And tonight will not be a different one, I believe. I am joined by a friend and an expert, one who actually has been on the CKA platform, although on Facebook for the parenting series. And we will be having a session together tonight. And our topic is Live Well, Work Well. Joining me tonight on Instagram and on our streaming platform tonight is Dr. Tomilola Oyekunle. So Tomilola, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm okay.
All right. It's great to have you here once again, and I believe it's going to be an explosive time.
Hi, thank you very much.
Yeah, the first time we had this, we had you online was on the Facebook platform of the CKA International School, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah, thank you very much for bringing me
You were
again.
not on the hot seat. Now you're on the hot seat with me.
Thank you for bringing me on.
So beware. All right. So Tomilola, I believe everyone out there might be eager to hear from you. But before that, I would like to give them the opportunity to know Tomilola in a way to set the ground rolling. Set the ball rolling. And so I would introduce you, but you also say a little bit about yourself. So viewers across the world, we have Dr. Tomilola, and she seems to wear a lot of hats these days. So Dr. Tomilola Oyekunle is first a medical doctor. She's also a psychologist. She actually is one who helps to assist people in the area of mental health and wellness, total wellness. Tomilola blogs, she writes, she speaks, she trains. So you now understand when I say she's putting on several hats at the same time. But I would not want to take the word from her mouth. So I'll give Tomilola an opportunity to introduce herself, and then we'll kick it off. So Tomilola, you're welcome. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rotimi. And all to God's glory. I don't know all this you're saying. I'm just me. I'm just me. All right, for those joining in, I really appreciate the fact that you're online. I can see one of my very good friend and colleague. She's a GP. Tutu, thank you so much for joining in tonight on Instagram. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Ameche, I can't pronounce it. That's quite a long name. Thank you so much for joining in. Right, okay. Thank you for bringing me on CKA Academy International School. It's a great privilege. I do not take it for granted. For those that are watching it for the first time, my name is Tomilola Oyekunle, and by God's grace, I'm a qualified medical doctor. I'm a psychologist, and I'm a wellness person. I speak a lot on wellness. Wellness is like my slogan in everything I write. Is always wellness, because I feel wellness and it covers everything. So it's more of wellness in all aspects. And I'm also an author. I wrote first book last year, and that was called How Are You? And it's a wellness book that cuts across all sectors. Everyone can pick up that book and read. So it's an amazing book that cuts across all sectors. And that is me in a nutshell. I like to enjoy myself. I like to go out. I like to flanger as much as I can. I like good friends, and I'm a very simple, easygoing person. And I like to make friends and know people. And I like to impact anyone that comes around me in any way I can. I'm still learning, so I know I can learn from people. I have a lot of people joining in. I'm learning every day, and And that is life. Life is all about learning. So I'm here by God's grace. Thank you for inviting me in again. I really appreciate it. And lastly,
Okay.
I love to work with young people. Young people are always my passion. I love to work with them, young adults and children. Yes.
So well, that's great. So thank you everyone for joining all the way from UK, from Nigeria, from Africa to the world. This is CKA Live Series. And this is a session and a platform that gives us opportunity to rub minds together, share knowledge, and get to work on producing better outcomes in what we do. So we're talking about live well and work well. Live well, work well, basically. And you being a wellness expert, a doctor, a psychologist, puts you in a very good position to deal with the subject matter on ground. So, Dr. Tomilola, could you share with us what are your thoughts about the way people live? Is there any need for us to really talk to people about living well? If there is, could you share some light on that?
Right, okay. To live well, it's I can say it's one thing that a lot of people love to they will prefer to and they want to. So I wouldn't say there is anyone out there that do not want to live well. A lot of people want to live well. People want to have a balanced life as much as they can. But unfortunately things happen, and that's why quite a lot of people might not. So I wouldn't use that word, everyone might not be able to live the kind of life they want to. It's important for us to live well, because if we don't live a good life, it might impact other aspects of our lives. So, for example, the steps we take to do with things, the food we eat, the exercise we do, the relationship we keep with people, the friends we have, the work we do, the family we have, our relationship with people, our health, our life, our relationship. So all these things is all about how we live. All these things affect how we live. So it is quite important as individuals to have a good life, to try as much as possible to live a good life. And when I'm talking about good life, I'm not talking about just physically. And I think that's one aspect a lot of people pay attention to. So when I'm talking about living a good life, it's all about, is an all-rounder. And that's why I said in my introduction that wellness is quite important. So it's all dimensional wellness. So it's not just your mental health, your relationship with friends, how you forgive a friend, how you speak to people, how you deal with people, how you socialize, how you put things together. So it's all about how we live our life. How we live our life affects a lot of things about us. It's not just our physical health, how we talk to people, how we treat the children, how we move things, how we interact. It's just everything. The job we do, the society we live in, the neighborhood that we stay in. All these kind of things affect our wellness. So the way we live our life is quite crucial. So I think I'll stop here now, because I know you've got a lot of questions for me again. So I'll take one after the other. Thank you very much for that question again.
All right. So just to take a little bit of some words out of what you said, living the good life. So are we saying that living a good life, or better still, living well, does it necessarily have to do with class? Does it have to do with money? Does it have to do with education or educational background? What exactly is the confines or the scope of living well?
Thank you very much for that question, Mr. Itayo. The truth is that living a good life is not just about money. You will see some people, they might not have enough money, or they don't have the money that a lot of people expect them to have, but they are living a good life. And that's why I said in my previous question that sometimes people you meet some people, they have just little amounts of money, but they are happy. They are happy because they might enjoy the environment that they stay in. They might enjoy the society that they have or they stay in. They might have good friends around them that support them in all they do. So living a good life is not just about the money. It's not just about the food you eat. No, it's parts of it, but it is not all. It's everything all around us. And that takes me back to my book, How Are You?, which you're going to talk about later. How are you? is not just the food you eat. It's not just the friends you keep. It's not just the environment you stay in. It's not just the church you go to or your faith. There's a lot of other things that surrounds it. So how you live your life, or how you are, or how well you are, is a big question. I'm not sure if I'm nailing that question very well, but I'll stop here for now.
Thank you very much. So it's getting interesting, and I have another question to ask you. So we're speaking about living well and working well. Live well, work well. Now, is there any connection between how I live as a person and how I work? Does my personal life or does my living well affect my performance at work?
Right. Thank you very much for that question. I can see a lot of my friends already online with me. Odion, thank you very much. There are quite a lot of people online on Instagram now. Thank you so much for joining in. Now, this is quite a very interesting question you asked me, and thank you for that again. Now, living well, working well. Now, there's a bit of correlation between both of them. That's the truth. But the thing is that some people, it all depends on individuals. So I'll put it that way. So it's not like kind of direct question that says, you live well, you work well. No, because there's a lot of research, as a psychologist, there's a lot of research that goes into all this. Living well, working well. You can live a good life physically. So that means you're living well, you're feeding yourself, having balanced diets, having good meal, taking care of yourself, making sure that you're taking the food you need to have, making sure that you're physically fit, making sure that you exercise a lot, making sure that you eat the balanced diet, making sure that you sleep well. All those things might help you to work well. Yes, it can. However, there's still that part of it that says that even if all those things are there, but you have grudges with the people you work with, that could affect you. So it's not just the physical part of it that you're taking care of yourself, but also psychological. And that's where I'm going into now. Psychologically, you might feel that I'm physically fit, but psychologically, in terms of your mental well-being, you're not fit, or you're not strong enough, or there's a lot of things going on, and that's affecting you psychologically. That would affect your work, and that would affect your productivity. That would affect your input at work. Also, socially, I'm a social being. I like to enjoy myself. I try to balance it as much as I can. Socially, you might be working and you feel that I'm well, I'm eating well, I'm exercising well, I have good relationship with people. But socially, you're not socializing well. So when you get to the workplace, and it happens a lot, especially in developing countries, is not just all about the amount of work you can put in. It also has to do with, are you socially balanced? You go to the workplace, are you interacting with your colleagues in a very good way, in such a way that when they see you, they want to work with you? Are you a social being? Do you interact? Do you bring that flair to the table when you're at work? Do people see you in the workplace and feel that they can socially interact with you? Because working is not just physically you're there, it's not psychologically you're there, but socially, are you social? Are you interactive? Do you smile? Do you engage your colleague? All those things affect productivity at work. Thank you very much for that question.
Very well said. So because I'm sure a lot of people out there are eager to find answers and probably get corrected in what they do. So can we just dive into this and, answer some questions around the questions that I'm going to share? And probably if you have questions and you're just joining us, please don't hesitate to ask your questions. We're open to questions online. But Dr. Tomilola, so from what you said, it means that working well would require living well, but not altogether. Does it mean that if you're living well, you're working well? So if that is the case, what are the factors that will help an individual, a professional, an employee to ensure that in spite of living well, which is very good for the physical being, your work doesn't suffer? So how can I get to well? What factors must I focus on? to ensure that I work well? Because I recall you mentioned something like grudges, you mentioned some other things.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. That was quite a very intelligent question. Honestly, that's quite good because I feel this is one part that a lot of employees in the workplace, especially in developing countries, they don't actually consider that before they employ an individual. Because it's okay for me to, for example, I have an interview today. If I have an interview today, I get myself ready and I'm straight to the workplace. And I'm like, okay, I've come here for an interview. You can see me, but there are other things that you need to explore, the other question you need to ask about me before you can decide that is this person actually fit for that role, or is that person this right kind of person that I need in the workplace? For example, psychometric test is one of the key things. Sometimes you want to see who you're employing in the workplace. The person might be physically well, but is that right? Is that person the kind of person you want to have that job and work well with you? So we're talking about living well, working well. Can this person work well with you? This individual can be the right person for another kind of position, but might be the right person for that job. So, for example, an employer can say, I'm trying to employ someone for this role, but I need to ask more questions. I need to engage that person in extracurricular questions to see, does this person swim, for example? Does this person do this? Does this person do this? Because that's going to help you or help the employer to decide that this is the right person for that role and the person can work well. So we are talking about living well. So the person is living well, but can that person work well for that role? So employer needs to engage and ask a lot of questions, which I think that we can talk about today before they can digress into that. For example, they can have a psychometric test. They can ask about their social life, ask about things they do outside their normal life. For example, I'm a doctor, I'm a psychologist, but I have other things I do to enjoy myself. An employer might say, I want this person, but you bring other things to the table. Who are the friends that you have? Tell me a little bit about your friends. So all those kind of things will help an individual to know that this kind of person might be the right person for that role, and the person can work well in that position.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to take it back to you. So you mentioned a lot about the social side of an individual. You enjoy yourself and you enjoy yourself, you enjoy yourself. You said that you like to enjoy yourself, and I know you like to enjoy yourself, actually. So, so let's get to that part. How can you get social, or how can one improve the social dimension of the individual to ensure that that's a plus when it comes to working well? How can you take social good or social wellness to boost performance as a deliberate effort, you know?
How can I? So are you asking that question as an employer, or are you asking me as to just speak about an individual? I don't know. Let me get that question
an individual, and if you don't mind, you could also relate it to an employer.
Now, we're all different. We're all different beings. Some people are more social than some other people. But the key thing is knowing what you enjoy and what you love to do. But at the same time, it's good to explore other aspects as well. For example, what do you like to do in your spare time? Even if you love to watch movies, that kind of movie you're watching, do you engage other things, or do you can you talk about that in a way that when somebody else wants to listen to you, they want to learn more about it? So we cannot all like the same thing at the same time as individuals. But the key thing is that as an individual, it depends on what you're watching. So you can say, right, I like to skip, for example, or I like to go out, I like to watch movies, I like to travel. So in whatever you're doing, make sure that you can interact and you can put a bit of flair to it, in which when you're interacting with somebody else, they want to actually get engaged with you and ask more questions about it. You might be, and that might go back to an employer. Employer might say, I'm actually speaking to an individual at the moment, and the person tell me about badminton. So at the end of that interaction, you need to let that person know more about what you enjoy to do. So that's more of, that person will be like, you might not be doing what I like to do, but you can tell me more about what you do in such a way that it will interest the other person and want to give it a try and say, let me see what you do. Oh, you do play badminton. Can you tell me more about it? So that's social being. You need to be able to explore it and show in such a way that an individual will see that other aspect of you. for example, at lunchtime at work, you might say, I like to do something different. And you engage people in such a way that people see the other part of you. That is not just the working, your normal work, but see other part of you. And you can bring that and relate that to what you do every day. So they see that different part of you in a positive way that makes everybody want to engage with you. Because that is more of engagement, because we need to work with that next person, we need to socialize with that next person, and we need to make sure that when the person sees us, they want to engage us and they want to continue and just feel like staying with us, because we are social beings and we need to really make sure that's being passed on.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, live well, work well.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's
yeah, it is.
Okay, so let's look at it from this angle. So sometimes we all work for different reasons.
Say that again.
Sometimes we all work for different reasons.
Yeah.
Some people would tell you that Dr. Tomilola, I'm just working to get some money, and I want to get as much money as I can, so I can move on to whatever I want to do. Now, there's a danger that I've discovered in this trend, is that a lot of people use this reason or motivation to deny themselves so much that the quality of life begins to drop, because they believe probably they just want to work for a period of time, and then we use sometimes the word, I'm just trying to hustle, I'm trying to make up or meet up. And a lot of times, these individuals don't pay attention to their health, they don't pay attention to their relationship with people, because there's this notion that they don't care for a short term. So they don't care about working relationships, they don't care about networking. Look, everyone is just here to earn their money, and then they go in, and then they're out of the way. But then sometimes people tend to realize that at the end of the day, yes, you might make those targets or make up those targets of making money, but you still have to deal with people in the end. And then they begin to regret that they wish they had opened some doors and closing some doors. They wish they had nurtured some relationships. They wish they had forgiven people easily, even when people hurt them lawfully. Because now, in the face of life, where they need to draw down on relationships that shut up. What's your take on that?
Right. Okay. So let me get the question well. So they interact with people, but after the while, when the person goes, it affects their relationship. Is that it?
Yeah. Now, from the angle of, where a lot of people understand that they are transitioning, they're in a transitioning phase. So somebody says, Dr. Tomilola, I'm just working for the next 1 year in this organization, and my focus is to make money so that I can do what I need to do. Now, while saying that, sometimes it accompanies itself with a disposition of not being involved. So those people don't get involved. They don't want to know anybody because they know they're just here for a short time. So they don't work with people in a positive environment. They are very, very edgy, touchy. They don't nurture relationships. They feel since they are not there for a long time, what's the point of building relationships? Let me just walk in and move on to another thing. What's your advice on that?
No, the thing is that we are all different beings. So we are all different. Everybody have different reasons for going to an establishment. And that's one of the reasons why, that's one of the key things we need to establish at the start of any job or anything. Why am I here? Am I here just to make my money and go? Am I here to have a relationship, or am I here after I'm gone, the one who carry the relationship with me? So it is important to know why everybody is there. Now, I can't say that I'm in an establishment now. I want to just be there. I want to make friends. Some people don't want to, but you can't really force them. And that people are different. So I think as an employer or as an individual, it's good for you to know why you are in a job and why you are there. And if you don't want it, then if you don't want a relationship, then you can't force it. But the bad thing or the worst thing about it is that it could affect another person, because if the other person wants a relationship out of it and you don't want a relationship out of it, it will affect it. But we can't force people. Some people don't want to, they just want to come to work and work. But ideally, it's not really healthy because that's where you work every day. That's where you go. As much as possible, you can interact with them, but you can still keep your limit to what you want people to know about you. But at the same time, you get on with your life. So I think it's something that it's an individual thing. So we can't really say it has to happen this way. So individuals are different depending on what they want to do. So, but the key thing is that it's still good for us to keep relationship at work because that's where you work. Because it's live well and work well. You want to have an environment where you enjoy to work in. But unfortunately, life is not fair to everyone. So some people find themselves in jobs that they don't want to keep a relationship, and we can't really force them on that. So they can do their job. They'll be like, I'm here to do my work, but I don't want to have any social relationship, or I don't want to keep my social wellness here. I'd rather keep it outside. So it depends on individuals. So because I know social wellness encourages one to discover that part of you, but you don't want to have it in that workplace. There's nothing you can do about it. People are different. So I think on that level, I'm gonna just be on people's side because some people don't want to keep relationship at work because they don't want people to know what's going on with them, which is understandable as well. So people are different.
Interesting. So, how do you look at this funny reality? It seems to me that when it comes to subordinates, people are not necessarily on the top level. There seems to be a disparity in terms of priorities. So you find out that it's easier to see CEOs, CFOs, managing directors make provision, right, to living well. In fact, sometimes the organization tends to deliberately create provisions for that. But I noticed that sometimes those who work a little bit lower in the career ladder, tend to look at it as a waste or lack of direction or something. And so, living well seems not to be a topic that will easily come up. And when it comes up, people tend to find it with several reasons. So what is your advice for those who probably have that kind of mentality?
People having that mentality, like I'm trying to see how to answer that question. Now, people come into the workplace and the employer has provided everything for them, and they just don't want to interact in the workplace, isn't it? Is that it?
Not really, but sometimes I'm just looking at it from a communal behavior where, so let's say, for example, you have low-level officers, frontline level officers, just seeing it as this is unnecessary. But you see, a CEO has a time that is going out of the office, or maybe Fridays going to play golf, understanding the fact that is important for quality of life. But it seems that the average employee doesn't buy that. It's almost like it's foreign. Oh, things like that are not for people like us. That kind of mentality.
Yes.
So a lot of people don't even make out. And when people tell them to do so, they consider such people as not being serious-minded.
Right. Okay. Now, the way I look at it is this: I usually in the workplace, depending on what work you do, when you start work, usually you don't get you're usually on probation at first. So you're on probation, or you're in time where they're still observing you if you're the right candidate for that role. And this is where I think employers need to be much careful. And that's why we have this employer assistance program that in the workplace, schools as well, they need to have something in place where, am I sure I'm actually employing this person for this role? Or is this person right for this job? Or this person the right person we want to? Now, Mr. Rotimi, the truth is that you want to be in a workplace where you enjoy the work. You want to work with people where you all work together, because the longer time you stay in the workplace, the more you enjoy yourself. So you want to enjoy the workplace. But if you're in a place where you don't enjoy it, it will affect you as individuals. So what I think in that case is, number one, the employer can actually have a chat The employer can have a chat with that individual that doesn't want to engage at all in the workplace, that doesn't want to work well, meaning socially with others. Have a meeting with that person, understand from that other person's angle or point why they do not want to interact in the workplace, see their likes and dislikes, and see how they can integrate that into the workplace. Because that individual that you feel that does not really want to be social or interact with other people might have genuine reasons for not wanting to. So it might be that you want to see what that other person really enjoy, what that person is seeing, and what the person loves to do. And you can engage as well on that level with that person. That is one. Number two, if somebody starts a new job, you want to know about the person. Is that person the right person for that job? So it is quite important to say that I'm not going to make the contract a full-time contract at first. You want to know the person more. Is this person the right person for this job? Because you need people that you're going to carry together. But the truth is that not everybody is going to be on your level in terms of socially. The person might not be the right person. And after one whole year, if you feel that that's not the person for you, then you can find a way not to renew the contract, depending on what you're looking for. But the key thing I'm going to say is that employers need to carry employees along. They need to speak to them. They need to speak in their language. They need to see in ways in which they can help that individual to integrate and also be part of that society. So I think I see it that way. It's a two-way thing. The person is not engaging, but is there something that person enjoys? Is there something we can bring that person or see what they enjoy and see what everybody else can get involved with? So it's a two-way thing. That's where I see it.
Okay, so from what you've said, how do we create a positive workplace atmosphere? How do we create a positive environment to enable everyone, just like you mentioned, like the employer assistance program? How can we take into consideration also the Nigerian and African concept or context as well?
Well, it all starts with, for example, it all depends. You might have subgroups. Some people, they might not find it really difficult. They might find difficult integrating to bigger groups because of how they were brought up. For example, in African countries, sometimes you've been told not to talk where people are talking. So you might even be like, you might be 50 years old and you're not still speaking where people are. Or like today, you see young people of 20 or even less than that, of 10, 15, they talk and they verbalize when they need to. So it might be the person's upbringing. So it might be that having subgroups in the workplace where that person can talk to one or two other people, that might help that individual. One. Number two, there might be a program in which there is workplace readiness program or workplace inter-term activities. It might be making that other people that do not really engage socially to make them the leader in some other roles. So when you make them leaders in other roles, it's not to just showcase their weakness, but that will make them to showcase their strong parts as well. So it could be, so I've mentioned three things now: having subgroups of a smaller group where they can actually vocalize and talk, because it might be their upbringing, it might be their social being, it might be the environment they've been brought up to, it might be how they've been brought up. Secondly, having workplace readiness programs. You can have workplace inter-schools. It might be workplace inter-staffs. It might be a workplace thing. And also having one-to-one session with this individual in the workplace. And that comes into the wellness part. Why is this person this way? The person might be performing well, doing their job excellently, but we want more for that individual because you feel that that individual might actually engage better when we know what's going on with that person. So it might be one-on-one. It might be, it could be a therapy. It could be an assessment. And that's why even in schools need to have a platform where they listen to their staff. And it's not just listening, getting professionals to come in there and work with staffs all through, especially those that are going through bereavement. It could be that the person is going through bereavement. It could be, especially with this COVID-19 thing going on, a lot of people might be struggling. A lot of people might not speak out. A lot of people might not engage people. A lot of people might just believe that all they need to do is to pray. A lot of people might not speak up. So it's more of getting professional. And when I'm talking about professional, it's not just looking for anybody randomly because the person, check the person out. Ask questions and see how this person that you're bringing to your workplace. The whole idea of all this is that we are trying to increase productivity. So we're increasing productivity, you're trying to increase performance of people, and you're trying to make everybody social, because that part of social I really enjoy it because it helps people to you tend to know other parts of people. It's not just the professional part. Get to know people, see how the reason as well. So that's my answer to that question.
All right. So just to ask you two more questions, and the first one is this, and you probably could answer them back to back. So how do you work well with a superior? A lot of people sometimes ask this question because we have different type of superiors in the workplace.
Yeah.
And then, of course, with superiors come with different work pattern or work style. As a psychologist, as a wellness expert, and speaking on the topic of work well, live well, or live well, work well, what are the steps that one can take to work well with a superior? And then, of course, when you answer that, also sometimes we also have superiors, bosses, leaders in the workplace who sometimes have trouble or difficulty working with people who are subordinates or people who are under them. So I want you to look at it on both sides, answer how to work well with superiors, and then for the superiors, how to work well with subordinates.
Now, the truth is that there is no way, let's look at it this way. I have boss at work. There's still that part of it that you see that person as your boss and you feel that I should not actually move or trying to cross the bridge because this person is my boss. So no matter how we see the boss, we know is always still the boss. We look at the person as a boss. I think it's left for the boss to actually come down to that level with that employees, if you ask me. The boss will be up there. It's so difficult for you to say, I'm going to bash into my boss office. I'm going to talk anyhow to my boss. It might be easier for some people, but regularly and looking at us from developing countries on especially how we've been brought up, it will be difficult for people to just start in the workplace, especially if you're quite new, to just reply back to your boss anyhow. You want to observe your boss. So if you ask me, I will say as much as possible, it has to start with the boss. The boss has to create a platform where he feels that every individual can relate with them. That doesn't mean that you're trying to let people know that they could override you or they can speak back to you anyhow. But I think it's still left for the boss to come down to that level with our employees so that the employees know that they can engage with their employer in a way that they can actually relate with them. So that's number one. So number one is that employers need to make themselves accessible. They need to make themselves available. They need to make themselves engaging with the employees. So that's number one thing. Number two, how can employers get employees to relate well in the workplace? Number two, another way they could do is that they can have activities, as I mentioned earlier on. They could have activities, engaging activities in the workplace. Number three, they could have professionals coming in to work with them. And when they see that, when employees see that employers are actually there to look after them, or they are there because they care about them, they'll be able to relate well with them. So the number one is that employers have to come down to that level where employees know that they can always talk to them. You don't have to be sitting up there to say, I'm the boss, I'm the boss. Come down to that level where they can interact and relate with you. That's one. Number two, get to know your employees. If they know that you care for them and you listen to them, then they will want to open up and also engage with you. And number three, having a lot of wellness information, wellness activities, going out for them, doing things that they genuinely feel that you care for them. 3 ways I think that is easier for employees to relate with employers. So I think that's the 3 ways, and it comes 2 ways. It still start with the employer. The employer is the owner of the business, so they need to make themselves accessible. They need to have a platform where employees can relate and be themselves. When they be themselves, you can see their mistakes, and also creating activity platform, wellness activities, checking up on them, making sure that they have links to like HMOs where they can look after them, they don't feel too well. So those are little tips. They don't have to do everything. But pick the one that dental care, checking their teeth, getting a doctor to come in there to assess them. Things like that help relationship, and it makes them to work well in schools.
Thank you so much for that. I'm sure those of us who are listening online would have gotten a lot of tips from this, and also would have learned a lot. And it really opened our eyes to see. I like the fact that you mentioned observation is very key because, and I think it actually works both ways.
Yeah.
The staff or the employee or the subordinate must learn how to observe.
Observe.
The superior must learn how to observe, and then making yourself accessible. You
Accessible.
mentioned accessibility, because a lot of times, some people feel that it's like going through a lion's den, to access the overall box. Whereas sometimes they are not that grateful, that the aura around them
Yeah.
probably has prevented people feeling that these people are actually accessible.
Now, can I just interject there? Now, the thing is that, Mr. Rotimi, especially with this COVID-19 thing, a lot of staffs are not going in. But what are employers doing to look after the wellness of their staff? Now, the employer might not do all these things, but all they can do sometimes is to have subgroups, subunits, where they can check up. Maybe it could be a subunit of 4 or 5 people. And the whole idea is that they're checking up on themselves. They're asking how each other is doing. Because by the time all this is lifted, how do you expect employees to actually relate? So you want them to work well, but what are you doing to actually make sure that these people are well at work? And not just at work, even if you're working away from home. For example, we are streaming on a school platform now. What is the school doing to look after the wellness of their teachers or their staffs? What are you doing at the moment? Do you have a thing in place for them where they feel that by the time the lockdown is lifted, they can say that you were there for them and they worked well? So it's a two-way thing. Their wellness, their mental health, their physical health, all aspects of their wellness is quite important, especially at this time. It's not just saying you're providing food or anything for them. All that little bit helps. You might not do it as an employee, but all you can do also is to have subgroups. Subgroups can help. Having subgroups that can check up on other people to see how they're doing in the workplace, especially during lockdown.
Thank you so much. So as a wellness expert and a psychologist, a doctor, one who seems to be very comfortable with this subject matter, what are the solutions that we've come up with in time past or in recent times that people can actually take advantage of? Because I'm sure somewhere, somehow, you might have 1 or 2 people who are actually in need of some level of extended or continuous support towards ensuring that they live well and they also work well.
Sorry, I didn't get the question very well. Can you say that again, please?
So from your expertise and experience,
yeah,
are there things that you've done? Are there things that you've come up with? Maybe solutions that you have that can help anyone needing further assistance or some level of intervention? Now you've shared some things, and people probably are looking for opportunities and ways, to bring the solutions that you've shared to the reality of their workplace.
All right, okay. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. Thank you so much for those that are just joining in. It's a very simple and straightforward as much as possible. There's still the basic things. Even without being an expert, there's some basic things. At this time where things are so unknown, unprecedented time, uncertain time, things are going on. Number one, look after yourself. Now, looking after yourself, I'm not talking about eating just alone. Your social life, your emotional well-being, physically, intellectual is also important. What are you reading? What are you feeding yourself with at this time? What are you doing to keep yourself busy? How is your mind? Who are you speaking with? Who are your friends? Who are you engaging? You'll be surprised even at this time, a lot of people meet up with people they shouldn't be meeting up with. Who are your friends? Who do you interact with? Who do you speak with? Who do you socialize with? Friends that you keep, interactions that you keep, relationships that we keep in. All this helps individuals, especially at this time. What we listen to is quite important. What are you doing with your time? Time is quite crucial. I'm not saying go and be looking for courses, no. But what are you doing at this time? Who are you speaking with? Even educators, you are home. What are you doing with yourself? Apart from just going online and teaching students, what are you doing? So it's more of taking practical steps. What are you listening to? What are you feeding your mind with? The mind is quite important. We can't overemphasize the mind at this time. There's a lot. I keep saying that the impact of this is going to be felt even more years to come. It's not just now. No, what are you doing financially? How are you keeping on? Who are you speaking with? Are you voicing out and speaking to a professional at this time? Now, these are things that people should be doing at this time. Are you struggling? Who are you talking to? Don't just keep in your own closet. A lot of people are going through this. Schools are going through this. Teachers, educators are going through this. What are you doing? Are you an educator? Who are you speaking with? Who are you vocalizing? Who are you vocalizing to? Who are you? So all these are just practical steps. Look after yourself. You matter. I keep saying that your wellness matters. Look after yourself physically, emotionally, intellectually, socially, career-wise, even in your faith as well. You know, are you keeping time to pray? You know, little things here and there. They're not massive things. But the key thing here, I will say, is that if you're struggling, please speak up. Ask for help. Speak to someone that can help you out, because that's the key thing here. Make sure you speak up and ask for help. Don't indulge in activities that is not right. That's another thing. Don't get into drugs. Don't get, as much as possible. It might be hard, but as much as possible, speak up. Ask for help. And people won't judge you. Of course, I won't judge you. You can speak to me, and you know, there's a lot of things you can do, especially for teachers, educators that are home. To me, there's a lot that needs to be done for them. I think about it. Other countries, the thing is that some of the teachers will go in. For example, in Nigeria, teachers don't go in at all. So what's happening to them?
Okay.
What's happening to the children? Abuse going on. There's a lot of things that needs to be. The kids at home, how are they abused? Are they well looked after? It's not just sharing the food, but what are we doing for these children at home? How are we assessing when they get back to school? Do we have an assessment in place? Do we have things in place? These are the things school needs to be looking at.
Okay, so Tomilola, sorry to cut in at that point. This will actually be my final question, but let me just ask you. You mentioned what are we doing for them, and then I recall you also said something about workplace readiness.
Yeah.
You know, so can you just spend the next few seconds or few minutes to touch on that? I recall that sometime last year you put up a program on that, and I believe that the plan of that is meant to be very frequent. So,
yeah.
How does workplace readiness, in the place of living well and working well, how do we tie it together? I'm sure people would like to know about that.
Now, the truth is that workplace readiness, we usually have it at the beginning of the term. So it could be midterm, half term, Easter holiday, Christmas, summer holiday. Those are times that usually do it because you want the teachers to come back refreshed, energized, psychologically they are stable, physically they are fit, things are well with them. Any concern that they might be going through, we feel that the thing they would have been discussed with you. But now that there's a lockdown going on, they are going back just as if they are going back after half term. So when we're talking about workplace readiness, it's more of the wellness of educators, the wellness of people returning back to work. Now, you don't expect somebody that has had a bereavement or somebody that has not been physically fit to come back and start working well. They won't work well because they've not been living well. At home, while they are home, they've not been living well. So it's more of having plans, strategic plans, trainings for these educators as they're going back, concerns that they have, how to help them to iron it out, how to help them solve out issues that they are going through, because an educator that is well is the one that will teach well. If they are not physically well, they will not teach well. They will come back and you feel they are fit, and they will not, and it will have an impact on the child. It will have an impact on the child because if educators don't even know how to sense or pick out a child that is abused, how would they teach that child that is being abused at home? So these are things that they need to look into for educators. They are going back to work. What are you doing for them? There should be a plan. There should be a training as they are returning back to work. And this is not any kind of training. And trainings from a professional that know what they are doing so that the teachers can go back, educators can go back, school leaders can go back, and they are psychologically fit. I'm speaking next week, Wednesday, on a platform with a lot of educators. And these are not just educators, these are leaders in education. And because a lot of them are stressed out, they can't go back in that frame of mind. It will not. They will kick up on their workers, and it will affect and cause a lot of breach going on. So we need to look into that and see how we can support them. They are going back to training. It's not just curriculum. Curriculum is good. But if they are not in the right frame of mind, school leaders, school educators, administrators, teachers, we need to work with them. We need to work with them. Especially at this time, they are home. Who is calling them? Are you just calling them? Are they actually vocalizing to tell you what they are going through while they are home? How is, there's a lot, Mr. Rotimi, there's a lot that can be done. There's a lot that needs to be done. They can't go back in that state, in that frame of mind. So something needs to be in place for them. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
For those who just joined, thank you for joining. David Fulani, thank you. Moms, babies, and teens. Daniel Zubai, thank you for joining. It's Mojib, thank you for joining. Odion, thank you for joining. King Steve, thank you for joining. Momogram, thank you for joining. We have it's Miss Gomez, thank you for joining. We have Elias, we have so we have NYI7, thank you for joining. Y_sub SAVG, thank you. Ikusimo, thank you for joining. Angel Ezebube, thank you for joining. HR, thank you for joining. And all of you that have joined. If you're joining us, this is CK in Live series, and it takes place every Saturday. And we have people from time to time coming online as guests to share with us, to teach us, to share with us, and empower us. And today we are privileged to host Dr. Tomilola Oyekele, who is a doctor, medical doctor, and a psychologist, a wellness expert. She's the author of the book How Are You? And she's been able to help people at different levels. And she actually loves to work with young people. We are not going to spend so much time any longer because of the time. I would like us to end at this point. But I would give Dr. Tomilola an opportunity to tell us about her book, because she mentioned that. And of course, if we're talking about living well and working well, and you've written about something that would affect that, it would just be right for us to hear a little bit about the book. Can you do that in 60 seconds?
Yeah, that's fine. So that's the book. It's called How Are You? It's a wellness book. It's a book that cuts across all sectors. It's a book that every individual can read. It's very accessible. It's very easy to read. Very simple language to read. It's a book that every home should have. It's a book that young people should read at this time. It's a book where educators, even teachers, everyone should read at this time. It's a book where young people can read. So it's a wellness book that cuts across all sectors. I don't have enough time for that. I can keep going and going and going. So it's a wellness book that every home could have. And it's a very easy and accessible book. Yes, it is.
So thank you. Mobola Olaribigbe just joined. Thank you for joining, though you came in late, but it's not too late, however, so you're worth the shout out. So thank you for those of you that have been listening. We've been talking about live well, work well, and Dr. Tomilola has helped to shape perspective and shed light on the topic and the subject matter. And one of the major things that I would like us to note, and I'm taking away from that, is that you can live well and you should live well, but it does not necessarily translate to working well. The dynamics of working well involve much more than living well. Yeah. And for those who like to work well, living well will be a plus. It will be a book. And we talked about working well with superiors, working well with subordinates. And observation is very important. We need to observe. We need to be accessible. And we need to entertain or integrate a workplace or employee assistance kind of program in what we do. As it might vary from organization to organization, but it's important for us to ensure that we live well and we work well, because that's the benefit of spending time and resources. So someone is asking, Doctor, good evening, how do we get your book?
I can get the book across to you anywhere you are. Just let me know and I'll send it across to you. No problem, David. I can get you.
You can follow Dr. Tomilola on Instagram, on Facebook, and of course via email. And our book is available, and it's in Nigeria as well as in the UK, and I'm sure it can be shipped across the world. Yeah. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for joining.
And have a great evening and enjoy your social Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, yeah.
Live
well,
God bless you. Good night and goodbye from CK Live. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
CK Live. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye. See you later. Bye.